Flying saucers, extraterrestrials, monsters from outer space. The government has been telling us for years that they're not real. They're weather balloons, or swamp gas, or reflections from the sun, or the ravings of lunatics. One of the most dedicated UFO researchers lives right here in Las Vegas. His name is John Lear, and he is my guest today. Mr. Lear, thanks for being here.
Okay, George.
You're a pilot, an airline pilot, captain. You have held 17 different world speed records at one time or another. You're a member of the famous Lear family, a former state Senate candidate. You don't sound like the kind of guy who would get hooked up in something that a lot of people would say is a bunch of nonsense.
No, it's just by coincidence that I got really interested. This about 2 years ago. My father saw a UFO and my brother did. My brother saw one. He was flying a P-38 from Phoenix to Los Angeles at night. It just appeared in front of him. He made two turns, 90-degree turns. It stayed in front of him and then disappeared. And my father was flying at night over the Arizona desert and saw one too.
You got an interest because of the other members of your family. How did you start out?
2 years ago, a friend of mine came through town. We had flown in Southeast Asia together, and he mentioned that he had been stationed at Bentwaters. And I said, oh, Bentwaters, that's where the flying saucer supposedly was in 1980. He said, no, John, not supposedly, it was. He said, I don't care if you believe me or not. It landed. I didn't see it because we were confined to quarters, but I know people who did, and I'll give you the names, and if you ever see them, tell them you know me, and they'll tell you the whole story. Since then, I ran into one of the security police who was within 10 feet of the saucer and actually saw the 3 aliens get out and go up to General Gordon Williams, who was the wing commander at that time. There's the Colonel Halt memo that came out under the Freedom of Information Act, and it told about the mysterious lights and beaming down and everything that happened in the forest. And there was also the tape, Colonel Halt forest tape, that he made over a period of 8 hours. And there's a 20-minute segment that we've been able to get a hold of that you can hear him running through the forest and being worried, saying the thing's after us.
Okay, we're looking at the thing. We're probably about 200 to 300 yards away. It looks like an eye winking at you. It's still moving from side to side. And when you put the star scope on it, it sort of has a hollow center, a dark center. It's like the pupil of an eye looking at you and winking. And the flash is so bright to the star scope that it almost burns your eye. And the ones in the north are moving, one's moving away from us. It's moving out fast.
This one on the right heading away too.
Yeah, we're both heading north. Okay, here he comes from the south. He's coming toward us now. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. This is unreal.
Now, why do you suppose that hasn't come out? Why hasn't come out if so many people are seen these aliens? Why haven't some of them come forward?
A lot of them have come forward, but they're just not getting any press. It's something that people just don't want to deal with. The press doesn't want to deal with. The Air Force has made an art form of ridiculing people who have talked about this thing. They've done an excellent job of covering it up for the last 40 years. I'll give you the bottom line. Okay. And I have found out that the government has retrieved between 10 and 15 actual flying saucers, one of which they tried to fly. They have between 30 and 50 alien bodies in cryogenic storage. They represent at least 5 different civilizations. Linda Moulton Howe documentary, The Strange Harvest. There's at least 9,000 cattle mutilations. And they cut out certain parts, and the cut was made with a laser beam far sharper than anything we have. As a matter of fact, they were able to determine that they cut between the cells.
Okay, you mentioned the saucers and the bodies. Now, what kind of proof do you have? How do you know that?
I'm going to read from the Introductory Space Science, Volume 2, Department of Physics, United States Air Force. Unidentified flying objects. Now, this is what the Air Force has the students at the Air Force Academy read. The most commonly described alien is about 3.5 feet tall, has a round head, arms reaching to or below his knees, and is wearing a silvery spacesuit or coveralls. Other aliens appear to be essentially the same as Earthmen, and there is a rare group reported to be about 4 feet tall and covered with thick hair, fur clothing. Members of this last group are described as being extremely strong. Now, I'm not making this up. This is an Air Force. You can pick out an Air Force physics book. This leads us to believe in the unpleasant possibility of alien visitors to our planet. These are one of the bodies that was recovered in the famous Roswell incident. Interesting things in the autopsy. 3.5 to 4.5 feet tall, 2 round eyes, arms is described long and thin reaching down to the knee, no teeth, no apparent reproductive organs.
Why does the government want to hide this?
Let's say that the president decided to make an announcement. My fellow Americans, I come to you before you tonight with an announcement of great importance. Despite all our denials, flying saucers do in fact exist. Where they come from, we do not know. Who is in them, we do not know. Where they are from, we do not know, nor do we know how they got here or what they want. Unfortunately, we are no closer to answers today than we were 40 years ago. God bless you all.
In other words, you find it highly unlikely that the president would ever make a statement anything like that.
It's too big. Apparently, 90% of them are hostile. If not hostile, they have a completely different set of morals than we do. The people that control this information is a organization that we know of as MJ-12.
Are they afraid of a panic?
In Cro-Magnon man, there may have been some tinkering to make us what we are today. We couldn't have developed exactly the missing link. We had just been going along, not doing anything. All of a sudden, bang, we started making pottery, invented the wheel, invented fire, and everything took off. What was the key that did that? They apparently come down, and the people are abducted. They're taken up into a saucer, usually lasts about an hour. They do all kinds of experiments. They give them shots, they poke them, they cut them. They do all kinds of things, then wipe out their memory and send them back.
What's the reason for that?
There's three things that they're trying to do. They're trying to monitor us. It started in the early 40s. The second thing they did, they put a post-hypnotic suggestion in. We found out what they've told them. There's going to be a big event. Something enormous is going to happen. And the third thing that they do is genetic experiments. They've been crossbreeding. Believe me when I tell you, you may not find out in a month, a year, 5 years or 10 years, but you'll look back at what I'm telling you now and you'll say to yourself, my gosh, the son of a gun was right.